So, unboxing my uncle's stuff part 2. So here we go. This is the next instalment. It's a smaller box than the first two that I got. I've no idea what's inside. Could be all sorts of things in here. I have no idea. I know one of the items that's coming, but I have no idea all the others, so this could be anything. I was, however, told that this is, I've got to be careful when opening this one. So I'm going to be careful using the saw, because this is, it just seems, you know, funny about the whole saw thing. Right, there we go. I'm being careful, by the way. Let's just have a little peek in there. That's alright, there's a bit of cardboard protecting it. So, yeah, this is all reference to EEV blog, one of my favourite channels, and the way that Dave Jones from EEV blog always uses the Crocodile Dundee knife, but you cannot copy that. That's his. So I've got to have a saw, you know. Anybody else that does unboxing videos, you know, yeah, you know, anything's fair game, you know, pickaxe, whatever else you want to use, fine, but that Crocodile Dundee knife belongs to Dave Jones. That is his iconic mailbag thingy. So anyway, so let's see what's inside here. Just making sure that I'm being extremely careful. So there's another box inside the box. Totally unharmed, by the way. My sawing tactics have served me well. So what's in here then? Digital oscilloscope. Ooh, it's an Owon Kenobi. This is what I think it is. This is the one thing that I thought that I knew was coming. It is, in fact, a scope. Oh, it's a nice inline number. Oh, look at this. Oh, nice. Probes. So, what we've got here. Oh, is that a... No, that's a cable tie. I thought it was like a temperature probe or something fancy. Oh, wow. So there's still 2 more boxes to come. Oh, wow. I have not, I know very little about the Owon scopes. I have always used, oh, we've got some little covers on the front of the input connectors. So that is a cute little scope. Look at that. Nice. Now, do you know something? I've heard so many stories about people starting out and getting scopes off their uncles and stuff like that, and their family members. Oh yeah, I'll hand you a scope down. And I've even done it myself. I gave my nephew a whole load of analogue gear. I had analogue, loads of test gear, loads of analogue test gear, and also an analogue scope. I had a it was quite a big scope, and oh, what was that? It was one of the RS Components ones. It was, oh, I can't think of the make now. The RS ones, they do a certain line. But anyway, so I gave my nephew a scope and a bench meter and a few bits and pieces, you know, digital bench meter and stuff like that. So yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty much blown away with this. I've got a little scope. Nice clunky power switch. You can never beat that. So I've been using the Rigol. It's a slightly bigger scope actually. It's a heavy thing, and that is. So I've got So that's an 1102, so that's 100 megahertz. So 2 scopes. That is, look at that. It's going to look like a proper test bench soon. Unfortunately, I do not have any power in this room at the moment. There's no electricity in this room whatsoever, so I can't actually just plug it in like I would normally do on the test bench, because as I've mentioned in the last video, I am just in the process of moving and building up the workshop. I believe there is a plug point. I have been around the whole room and I believe there's a plug point behind the one wall that I've actually filled with heaps and heaps and heaps of stuff. This cabinet that all this stuff is sitting on top of is absolutely full of stuff. These are obviously, I mean, these can be moved. I mean, there's what, 8 things there. I can just pop them off, put them out of the way and sort of move this. But the plug points, I think, sit behind there. I'm going to be really disappointed if they're not there. There's got to be somewhere in this room, but they're not anywhere on the whole perimeter of the I've searched, and no. So I believe that the plug points are actually down there somewhere behind this, and I can't just pull that out because these will go flying. So anyway, so yeah, a scope, that is awesome. And I've got some test probes. That is awesome, absolutely brilliant. So the scope I've got here, I'm just going to tell you a little bit of background about. This is my first digital scope. This is a 4-channel, and it's the Rigol. And I bought this when my father passed away. When he died, he left some money, a bit more than the value of the scope. But one thing I thought of was, because, you know, he was into engineering and stuff like that as well. He was more of a mechanical engineer. And I know how much importance he saw in tools and anything like that. You know, if you saw his workshop, you'd be like, wow. So, you know, it was really important for me to sort of spend the money that came from him on something that was, you know, some kind of tool or you know, bench products. But so anyway, I now have another scope, so I'm going to have to do a video and put them up side by side, because, you know, this is 100 megahertz. I think when I first got the Rigol, I may have hacked it up to 100. I remember reading about it. It's a bit fuzzy now, it's a while ago, but I'm pretty sure I'll know when I switch it on, because I haven't had the thing on for a while. So, but it would be good to actually put them up together and actually see how, sort of, you know, if there's any differences, if this performs better or worse, or, you know what I mean. It'd be good to sort of put them up together. It'd make an interesting video, I think. You know, stick the two up together, especially. I mean, I don't know. I can't remember how much I paid for the Rigol, and I have no idea how much these are, but one of them's probably more expensive than the other. And so for people looking for scopes, you know, because you know, neither of them are Tektronix, let's face it. So but yeah, this is awesome. So we've got the probes, and these my uncle's obviously calibrated these to the inputs, because he's put the little coloured band around there, the blue one on this one, and then the yellow one on this one. So these have obviously been calibrated to the inputs, because you have to do that. So wow, I'm blown away. I have a scope, a second scope. So that is awesome. I mean, 2 scopes are always good, because even though you've got, like, even I've got 4 channels there, sometimes if you're measuring something and you just want to see something else, you don't necessarily want it on the same screen. And the other thing is, you might be wanting to do a frequency count on one and a frequency count on the other, of something that's reacting with what you're working on. and seeing if you're gonna, you know, if frequency counts, you know, matching up and stuff like that. So, you know, this, you've only got one frequency counter on a scope. It just counts the one channel that you set it to. But anyway, I don't even know if this has got a frequency counter actually. Most of them do. So anyway, I'm gonna have a quick guide. Let's see. Let's straight to the specs, straight to the back page. Where's the specs? Appendix. Tells you what's in it. And horizontal system. Right. Okay. So there's nothing in the appendix. So let's check the index. See if that tells you. User interface. How to. Function. Probe. How to implement how to implement self-calibration, right? Because you have to calibrate them. I just the last time I used the Rigol, I had to calibrate it because I'd put an update in there. How to measure automatically. It doesn't mention frequency counter, but I'm sure. Aha! One spec sheet. We have it right here. So let's have a look. So bandwidth. So it's 1102. It's 100 megahertz. They do a 200 megahertz. So I wonder if this one here is hackable up to 200 megahertz. I'm just going to stick that so it's in frame because, you know, it's a bit more interesting in my t-shirt. Although you might like my t-shirt. I don't know. Do you like my t-shirt? Who knows? Anyway, so I'll just leave that peeking over the top there so you can see the new toy. Yeah, so let's have a look. Display, coloured, right, sample rate, real time, horizontal scale, rise time. I mean the specs, they all look really good, you know. So on the 1102, less than or equal to 3.5 nanoseconds rise time. I mean, these are good specs, really good horizontal scale. Sample rate. Let's look at the sample rate for that 1 gigasecond. Right, oh, that's all right. It's a giga. That's a. I think the Rigol's a gigasecond sample rate. So that's the same. So channel max record length, sample time, input coupling. It doesn't actually say it's got a frequency counter, but like I say, I can't unfortunately test it until I get electricity in the room. So once I get electricity in the bench, I've got so much to do. I've got a big shelf that I'm putting up. I'm actually putting a big enclosed part above the bench for stuff to go in. I've got stuff in boxes all over the place. It's still sort of, you know, all up. So I wonder if this can be hacked to a 200, because they do a 200 in that series. So this data sheet actually does say bandwidth, SDS 1102 and 1202. So maybe it could be hacked up. Right, automatic measurements, period, frequency. So it does have frequency counter. Mean, peak to peak, RMS, max, min, top base, amplitude. Overshoot, pre-shoot, rise time, full time. I'm going to be quite interested to actually go through this. This is going to be quite fun for me. I love this sort of stuff. I love messing about with scopes and stuff like that. So passive probes. So they have. There's an OW, I guess for the Owon Kenobi. This is the Owon 3100 for the 100 megahertz, and then you get the one for the 200 megahertz. So I wonder if they're different probes that you need. I'm not a probe aficionado, so I do not know whether you would have to have a separate. I'm putting all of this in the same pack, so it's all together, because there's nothing worse than losing stuff, you know, that goes with something else. I like everything sort of, you know, everything in my workshop all sort of compartmentalised. This is the resistors, all of them. you know. This is the capacitors, all of them, you know. So I like to sort of keep all my stuff together, and I do actually have a rack for hanging. Hi there. Right, I've just jumped forward literally a whole day. The doorbell went to start with a new package, so I jumped up and then I went and got an extension lead so I can check the scope out and go through a few of the functions with you. And yeah, so anyway, loads of other stuff sort of happened. I've got uni work and all that sort of stuff going on. So this is actually the next day from the beginning of the video, hence different attire, you know. But anyway, we've got a new package again, so let's get this open. No, we don't get them, we use these. Right, so straight down the middle. Good, I think we're good on that axis. Alright, let's go for this one. One of them. They say you should never cut towards yourself, and I'm doing just that with a saw. Oh well. Anyway, so let's get this baby open. Oh, there is packing peanuts in it. So, I wonder what we've got in here. I'm going to come back to the oscilloscope at the end. I'm going to do all of this unboxing stuff because I think it's a bit more interesting. If you're an oscilloscope aficionado or anything like that, then you know, just wait till the end and I'll get on with them. I might compare it with the Rigol and see how they sort of weigh up and stuff. But I tell you one thing though, it is extremely light. That is the thinnest and lightest oscilloscope I've ever seen and felt. It's unbelievable. I don't know if it's because of the Rigol has got all the ground shielding around it or what, I don't know, but they've made it extremely light. Feels like you can just sort of put it on your little pinky finger and lift it up. Anyway, let's have a look in here and see what we have. I see a keyboard. Why am I seeing a keyboard? Why am I seeing a keyboard? It's a keyboard. Why have I got a keyboard? I mean, is there something else in here that this attaches to? I have a small reel of solder. What we got here? We've got 6040 here. It's lead free solder. I actually find that quite hard to work, but it's always handy if you're ever doing soldering on something. A lot of modern products have I'm seeing USBs and all sorts of bits and pieces. Let's get this. Oh, we've got an IC straightener. We have an IC straightener. We have a template for doing your resistors. For let me get a bit closer with that. So that is a template. That's for all your different pictures of resistors. You just wrap them around there and then you sort of find the right pitch. This is IC pin former, and there's also an IC pin former here. So two different types. I've actually got a third type one that I've been using for years and years, and that's this, and it's actually on a block of metal. So and you've got these on bearings, and then you've got the other side for the wider chips. But yeah, you just push them through and it forms the pins. So now I have several different types. So yeah, well I'm sure they're all handy. I suppose that the little tiny one will be like really sort of handy if you just sort of zip in through a quick, you know, you've got a little project on and you just want to whip a thing through. This one here is good for doing like a bulk of like loads of them. You can just go and you do like a whole load of them in one go. but as you can see it's pretty big and chunky, whereas this one, this will be ideal when you're doing, if you're doing little tiny projects. I don't know if I'm going to get, there you go, get it at the right angle. So yeah, it just goes in there and that's that. So that would be really handy for, like I say, if you're just doing a project with like, it's got one chip on it, you just grab the chip, zip it through and then that's done. You know, rather than sort of big chunky metal, so that's quite handy. Let's see what else there is. You see, another thing is, a lot of things are preference. Some people like to, you know, have their chip formers on the bench permanently, and you know, I mean, I don't. I just chuck it in a toolbox, so you know, I can hear stuff. I can hear stuff rattling. We have another cigarette tin. These tobacco tins. Oh, what is that? That is soldering iron tips. Well, that's a lot of soldering iron tips there. And presuming this springy thing that's sticking out is a soldering iron. It certainly is. There we have, what is this? This is a Yihua. Yeah, it's a soldering iron. Yihua, Gangsu Yihua Electronic. So we have 18 watt soldering iron. So there you go. That is, yeah. So that'll have a transformer in it, and it will reduce the temperature. Good stuff. So there is a whole load of solder here. Now I have no idea whether this is lead free or whether this is leaded solder, but really you shouldn't mix the two. So if you're doing repair work on modern stuff, if you're repairing something that's new, like if you're working on a phone or something like that, chances are you'll be using lead free. But if you're working on older stuff, older vintage gear, it's usually 60-40, 63-30, isn't it? It's you know, I always use 60-40 or 63-30. The simple reason for tin whiskers. Tin whiskers are a phenomenon known to cause small whiskers of solder or tin, and the tin bridges over. If you've got like a chip, if you've got all the pins of a chip, you get a little whisker going from one, little solder whisker going from one to the other. They grow. The lead was put into solder when it was first designed to stop this phenomenon happening, and then they've taken it out, and this is why a lot of consumer electronics fail. If you've ever got like a TV set, they seem to sort of not last as long as they did years ago. You know, years ago they'd last you a good 10 years before you had to give it a good whack on the side, and then eventually call the engineer out. But yeah, the new TVs, I've found that, you know, like a few years and they're failing. You know, all this consumer electronics is failing, and you can literally just get a toothbrush and just brush around all over the pins of the chip, and you can sometimes bring it back to life. Well, I've managed to do that anyway on occasions when I've had things failing with new technology. And another thing is you'll never hear of lead-free solder being used in medical electronics or military. So they always use 60-40 for that very reason. They want their stuff secure. But however, there is it is being used now, and it's, for some reason, it's reduction of harmful substances. Now this is obviously a big talking point for, you know, you could end up talking for ages. But the thing is, if you keep using this reduction of harmful substances, remove the lead out of the solder. Like, you're not going to lick the circuit board anyway, are you? Really, you know, unless you're sort of like licking circuit boards. But anyway, so it's basically what. Yeah. So what happens is you end up with with all this stuff, like old TVs or new TVs. New TVs 2 years, 4 years old, broke, end up on a landfill. Now, surely that is a bigger problem than having a bit of lead in the you know, in the solder. I mean, somebody said, "Oh, well, it's bad for your lungs, you know, when you burn it," and it goes, that's not what you're smelling. It's the rosin flux that is actually causing the smoke. That doesn't actually vaporise. The metal doesn't vaporise, not unless it's like way above the temperature of a normal soldering iron, that's for sure. So anyway, so that's not the issue. I mean, I don't know why they've done it, but anyway, here we go. That's what that is. Next up we have DC power supply right here. So wait a minute. I have two. I've actually got a big power supply as well. It's an analog one and it's as heavy, you wouldn't be able to lift it up with one hand, that's for sure. I have trouble lifting it with two. It's got a transformer like that inside. So anyway, but two, I've got, yeah, that's handy, one of those, and the power cable for it, and we've got a mouse. So we've got a mouse, we've got a keyboard, we've got all this other stuff. Unless the mouse and keyboard plugs into the, I wonder if it's for the oscilloscope. Because anyway, there's some power clips for that. That's it. That's the end of. That's all that's in there. That's sponge for the soldering iron. Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. So that's that. Right, now on with the super lightweight Owon. It should be OB1 Kenobi. Owon Kenobi oscilloscope. Have we got anything? Is it going to work? Are we plugged in? Hmm? Do we have power? We've got a run light. Hey, here we go. One oscilloscope. Right, let's have a look. Okay, so we have a picture of more oscilloscopes. And we have, that's good. Right, so we have, this is good actually, because this is the same size screen, it appears, as the Rigol. Okay, which, blimey, that is a difference. That is like a brick, this thing is. So we've got the same size screen as the Rigol, by the looks of it. Yeah, that looks about the same. Except, if I just get another power cable. Where's that one? I did have one. There it is. If I get the power cable, I can plug in the Rigol and show you the differences, because I can already see a difference straight away. So let's get the Rigol on. Gotta wait for it. Wait for all the relays. There you go. That's the relays. Come on, boot. No, I could stand that up so it's more. So really what I need to do is get one of those cigarette tins. Use that cigarette tin and that one, stand them up Let's see how that looks. Right, so if we do that, that's a bit better. Right, so you can see both. Now, can you see on here you've got this menu here and you've got a small menu here. You can't get rid of these. But with this, it looks like you're getting a full screen. So let's go into the menus. See? Configure, English, USB. Yeah, so you're getting the whole. So you bring off the menu there. Actually, do that. Cancel. So you're actually getting more real estate on your screen with this, because obviously you've got these permanent fixtures down the side. Now that was one of the things that was mentioned. I mean, these Waggles are an amazing scope, but one of the things that was mentioned is the fact that they've got these taking up the screen, which you can't get rid of. So anyway, so I think I'm going to have a good look at this one, and I'll probably do a comparison review. But anyway, that's the latest of the gear. So thanks for watching.